Shalom uvracha. We study this evening together, with the help of Hashem, Parashat Tetzaveh, wherein we read of the special garments of the Kohen Gadol, the special priestly begadim, as are described in our Torah section. It's interesting to note that the phenomena discussed in conjunction with these garments have direct influence on teachings which affect each of us in our daily lives. For instance, in Masechet Pesachim, page 112 of Pesachim, we read of a special series of instructions that Rabbi Akiva shares with his son. Now, whenever you hear a teaching from Rabbi Akiva, all the great rabbis, of course, should listen to that teaching, but Rabbi Akiva, you understand, had special levels of sensitivities, specifically to the concept of Rabbi Akiva, V'ahavta re'acha kamocha, right? He's like the outstanding teacher. So he tells his son, Rabbi Yoshua, he says, listen, whenever you enter a house, whenever you enter a home, whenever you enter a room, never enter without first knocking. You cannot enter suddenly into someone's home or suddenly into someone's room. Bini, al tikanes leveitcha pitom, even to your own house. Don't walk into your own home suddenly. Kol shekain leveit chavercha. Surely not into someone else's. Surely not someone else's home. Why? Because one may startle a person sitting in the home, and it could be very, very scary. If anyone has ever been in a room where somebody just suddenly walks in, they get scared. They move from place to place. It should never happen again. I hope there's no more need anywhere in the world for anyone to sit Shabbat. But one time, there's a custom in certain communities that the door of the home in the Shiva home is not locked. So the people shouldn't have to get up to greet, and you shouldn't have to open the door. So we once went to someone who was sitting Shiva, and they really were in the middle of Shiva. It was, let's say, from a Tuesday morning to a Monday morning. We went on a Thursday, but the person had already left Yerushalayim and went to sit the second part of the Shiva in Tel Aviv. But we didn't know that. So we went to the home where they were sitting Shiva. His married daughter was living there. We opened the door. It was unlocked. She screamed. The shriek is still with me. This is years ago. She was so scared. And this was, and we apologized profusely. We meant it innocently. She said her father had gone to tell her, Bini, don't enter a room without knocking. And the proof text in the commentaries, where do you get this idea from in the Torah, is taken from Parashat Tetzaveh, from our Torah section. Why? Because when the Torah describes the special robe, the special me'il robe of the Kohen Gadol, on the bottom of the garment, there's a description of bells. There were bells ringing as the Kohen Gadol would enter the Kodesh. V'nishma kolo bevo'o al HaKodesh, so that his v'nishma kolo, the sound shall be heard. His sound shall be heard when he enters the inner sanctuary, when he enters the Kodesh. Why? Because Pa'amon Zahav Rimon, Al Shulei Amiel Savir. There are bells on the bottom. What's the notion? What's the idea? The idea is it was disrespectful. It was disrespectful to walk into the inner area of the Mishkan, to the inner area of the Mikdash, without somehow announcing his arrival. And the rabbis understand this not merely to mean a teaching about the Kohen Gadol, but rather we are supposed to learn. We are supposed to internalize the same message in terms of our sensitivity to other people's areas as well. In Masechet Derech Eretz, that's a section of the extended Talmud, not really from the Talmudic period, perhaps later. There's Derech Eretz Rabbah, there's Derech Eretz Zutah, Very, 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 very important section of study, which I highly recommend. There we read again the same kind of teaching, the 5th chapter of Derech Eretz Rabbah, that there's a notion, there's a principle of knocking before entering. Not only from the garment of the Kohen Gadol, but the proof text that's used in Derech Eretz Rabbah is from God. La'olam al yikanes adam pitom lebeit chavero. You're not allowed to enter. This happens all the time in dormitories. You know, people run from room to room and they open doors, they close. You're not allowed to enter someone's room without knocking. You have to follow the Kohen Gadol. V'yilmedu kol adam derech eretz. The rabbis say, and we should study principles of sensitivity, principles of proper respect, min hamakom, from God, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Because when God called Adam, one of the first encounters ever, right? That's recorded in the Torah. Remember after the sin, Vayikra Hashem Elokim. God calls out. Vayikra Hashem Elokim el Adam vayomer lo ayeka. Where was God at that moment, so to speak? Sha'amad al petach hagan. God was outside the doorway, right near the doorway. Adam, Vayikra Hashem Elokim el Adam. Why? Out of sensitivity. Out of sensitivity. So it seems that there are many explanations for this principle. We're supposed to learn the way God behaved, the way the Kohen Gadol behaved on an ongoing basis. Some say, as I said before, in order not to frighten anyone. And if you've ever been frightened or startled by someone walking in suddenly, you know what I'm talking about. That applies even in your own house. That means even if you have a key, even if you know the combination, unless you have some kind of arrangement, you're supposed to knock at the door. You know, you're supposed to ring the bell. Unless you think that will be disturbing, then of course it's a special arrangement. But others say that it's not just in order not to frighten them. It's in order to respect people's right of privacy. The Rashbam, in his commentary to Pesachim, writes, V'al tikanes pitom. You're not allowed to enter suddenly. Ela hashmat kolcha lahem kodem bo'acha. Make sure that they know that you're arriving. Make sure that they know you're walking in. Dilma avdei milta tzniuta. Maybe they're involved in some kind of private matter. They don't want you to see them carrying the packages the way they are in their house in the private fashion that they're hiding it somewhere. They don't want you to see them sitting there counting $100 bills that they're stashing under their under their mattress. Yes, they don't want you to see the house in a state of disarray. There are many, many people who are very embarrassed. You know, someone just walks in and the house is filled with piles and piles of holy mess. You know, I mean, it bothers some people. You're not allowed to do that, or they could be involved in some personal matter. You're not allowed to enter. Al tikanes. We have to be sensitive of this concept of vinishma kolo, of being sensitive, of making yourself heard before you enter. And I think that Judaism emphasizes in so many different places. The Torah emphasizes this value of being respectful of other people's privacy. Bilam, remember the prophet Bilam, who was not known for his great love of the Jewish people. One of the things he did say, we start actually many prayer books, Ashkenazic prayer books, begin with his quotation. Rabbi Epstein writes in his commentary to the Siddur. Rabbi Baruch Epstein, Baruch Shammai, says, you couldn't find any Jew to quote on page 1 of the Siddur. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkinotecha Yisrael. How beautiful are your tents, O Jacob. How beautiful are your dwelling places, O Israel. So he says, why quote Bilam of all people? He said, well, maybe if a Jew is praising the synagogue, okay, maybe the Jews, but Bilam is saying it, maybe it has more meaning. What did he see? What was so impressive to him? What was he so excited about? Wow! What beautiful homes! What beautiful tents! So the rabbis teach. He saw that there was this great level of sensitivity. Shelo hayu pitchei ohalehem mechuvanim zelazeh. That hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of tents, millions of people traveling within a very close proximity of each other, and they had to set up camp. So nobody's opening. There was not one tent. He couldn't find that. There were no tents that opened one door facing another door. There was nobody who was able to see in someone else's tent. There was a sense of privacy. There was a sense of dignity. There was a sense of royalty in that sense, that they were all sensitive to the other person's right to be alone, to be private. And Bilam was very moved by this. Bilam was very moved by this. Look how great these tents are. Look how great is the level of sensitivity of Am Yisrael. And that's why there are many laws that, anyone who studied Masechet Bava Batra, the beginning of Bava Batra, if let's say someone's dissolving a partnership, let's say two people own a joint field. Okay, they used to own a joint field, now they're ending the partnership, and now he owns half and the other one owns half. So they can divide 50%, correct? However, the law is that one party can insist. It's not enough for me just to make a little marker over here in the middle and say that's where my property ends. I want some kind of divider between my property and your property. I want something to divide my section from your section. And the rabbis have lengthy discussions in Masechet Bava Batra of Hezek Riyah Shemeh Hezek. That this concept of not looking at other people's areas. It's not your business when I'm growing on my field. It's not your business what I'm doing in my area. And if you want to enter my area, so you have to come through some kind of process. You can't just walk straight in. Even if we used to be partners in the same field. And this is the principle of V'nishma Kolo B'Va'ol HaKodesh. It could be that maybe it's not enough to knock at the door. This is my own idea. Till now, I'm quoting sources. This part you could reject. But is it possible that maybe in the age of telephones and cell phones, maybe it's not enough just to come to someone's door and knock? It doesn't help much. How much time do they have to really organize themselves from the time that you knock at the door till they can open it? Maybe today, unlike all the other centuries in history, maybe today part of this V'nishma Kolo. You don't necessarily have to agree with me. I'm just projecting a conjecture. V'nishma Kolo B'Va'ol HaKodesh. Maybe to tell someone, is it okay if I come over this afternoon at 2:00? Will you be home this evening? Is it convenient for you if I visit with you tonight at 8? Because there are many people in the spirit of what we're learning before of maybe being embarrassed. There are many people. Slicha. There are many people who maybe if people would come to their house and they have nothing to serve. It should never happen to anyone. Let's say last night was a big party in your house, and there's no food, there are no drinks, and now these important guests arrive at the door. You have nothing to serve them. Could you possibly cause people embarrassment if you don't tell them in advance? I don't know if it helps much, to stand with a cell phone near the door and say, "Is it okay? Where are you? I'm at your door." I don't know if that helps much. Maybe even in Shema Kolo, your sound has to be heard. The bells have to, for whom the bell they're told. The bells have to be ringing so that they can hear you. Maybe they have to hear you in advance. And maybe B'Vo'o El HaKodesh, V'nishma Kolo B'Vo'o El HaKodesh. His sound shall be heard as he's entering the Kodesh, the area of holiness. I believe that Am Yisrael is all entering the area of holiness. We strive to be a holy nation. We strive to be a caring nation, a sensitive nation. We're all trying to enter the realm of the inner sanctum. How do we do so? Well, maybe one way that we can strive to get to this level is if we show greater sensitivity to other people's feelings. If we never barge into anyone, if we're careful not to hurt their feelings, careful not to embarrass them, careful not to take away their right to individualistic expressions of privacy, and we follow in the spirit of the Kohen Gadol, since we are a nation where we're all Kohanim, Mamlechet Kohanim, so maybe as Kohanim we have to learn about the special garment of the high Kohen of the Kohen Gadol, and follow suit in all of our areas of dealings with other people. If we do this, hopefully we'll be entering the Kodesh in the highest of ways. Just one postscript. Rabbeinu Bachyai points out that there seems to be one time where the bells are not ringing, and that is when the Kohen Gadol enters the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur, he's not wearing this me'il garment with the bells. Now that's the holiest of holies, right? That's only one time a year. Can there be a certain time? Maybe if relationships are on a certain level, like, okay, just walk in, walk in anytime you want, I don't know. He wants to suggest that maybe that's part of the special love or singularity of the observance of Yom Kippur. May we all be able to love each other, respect each other on the level of the Kohen Gadol with the Pa'amon Zahav Rimon, Ba'amon Zahav Rimon, the Nishma Kolo. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, man. At the end of that line, it says the bells should be heard, so he won't die when he.
It's a very serious.
It's a very interesting thing, because I heard a few times that somebody going into their own home where they thought there was a burglar because they didn't. And I know somebody who got shot because he had walked into his own home without knocking, and they thought he was.
Well, so Rav Beinish is adding a dimension here. There's like a new commentary that it's safer. Right? That's what he's saying. Right? It's like
Safer.
There's like a new interpretation. We'll add this to the Rashbam. There's a room in the margin. This is called Perush Rabbeinish. In the Perush Rabbeinish it says that if you knock at the door, if you ring the bell, no one should ever be plagued with any problems of any kind of burglars. Maybe all the burglars do tshuva tonight, and then they join our study instead of running around really stealing. But I guess if you ring the bell, they have a chance to run out the back doors. Wow, new Perush in the Gemara. Thank you so much.
Great. It's great.
Misha Berach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov Moshe Aaron David Shlomo Imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel Eliyahu Yivarech Rapeh V'Chazek V'Tzor V'Yishmar Et Yirmiyahu Ben Priva Nachama Ve'et Sarah Shirel Bat Lorain El Nor Rafana Lehem HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachmim Alehem Lachlimon Rapotam Lachzikam Lachyotam Yishlach Lehem Meheira Refuah Hashem Avon HaShamayim L'chol Avraham L'chol Gidehem B'toch Shar Cholei Yisrael Refuat HaNefesh Refuat HaGuf. Okay, we're going to try to pray a little Ma'ariv, and then we'll have something to eat. And she left the stage.
She's back in the States.